Getting a driver license has remained a rite of passage for millions of American teenagers over the years. But now these tiny plastic cards are at the center of a hot debate over national security, the right to privacy, and immigration. Havovi Cooper reports.
Entering a federal building, boarding a plane, and opening a bank account all seem like simple procedures. Just show your driver's license and access is yours. But many New Yorkers are unaware of the controversial Real ID Act passed by Congress in 2005. The act requires anyone who needs access to federal facilities to have an ID, probably a driver's license, which will meet certain nationwide security standards. To obtain a Real ID, an applicant will have to present several documents to their local Department of Motor Vehicles, including a social security card, a marriage license, and a birth certificate.
America has long been a society that rejected the idea of a national identity card. Simply un-American.
Ori Rosemarin is a statewide campaigns coordinator for the New York Civil Liberties Union. He believes the use of Real ID will eventually extend well beyond its intended purpose.
Congress has already voted on requiring a Real ID for federal housing assistance. Real ID was proposed as a worker ID requirement without limits placed on what Real IDs can be used for and what a national identity system means. You open the door to any possibilities.
Congress initially passed the Real ID Act in the wake of 9/11 as a security measure. But Rosemarin thinks he knows who the real targets of Real ID legislation are.
I mean, there's no doubt that undocumented workers would take the brunt very hard.
Jose Caranavi is one such undocumented worker. He is a member of a restaurant advocacy organization in New York City and has worked at some of the city's finest dining establishments, including his current stint at a seafood restaurant in Manhattan. He's obtained his jobs by the only means available to him.
So I buy my papers, I would say my green card and my social security number, I remember like for $40 7 years ago.
Caranavi is one of the approximately 81,000 undocumented immigrants working in New York City's restaurant industry. And with the Real ID legislation looming, Jay Mitchell, a New York City restaurant owner, believes that his industry will face a challenge.
Yeah, I think that it would be very difficult to staff all the restaurants without illegal aliens.
But he thinks most restaurant owners will ultimately follow the law and avoid potential penalties by only employing legal workers.
If I'm 90% okay, I'd rather be 100% okay.
Apart from the restaurant industry, the Real ID law is expected to affect the landscapers, construction workers, and farmers, all of whom rely on inexpensive labor. States have until December 31st, 2009 to comply with the law or file for an extension. But nationwide, there is a growing rebellion against Real ID, and 21 states have passed a resolution rejecting this ID scheme.
We're at the point now where we can't put a stop to this. It's not done. It's not over. It's just beginning.
A few weeks ago, Senator Tom Allen from Maine proposed legislation that would delay the final implementation of the Real ID driver's licenses until 2017. But despite the opposition, the Department of Homeland Security has not backed down. Along with Congress, the DHS has pumped $359 million into states to help them deal with data gathering and enforcing the Real ID. For Columbia TV News, this is Havovi Cooper.